Hey, what's going on, everybody? I want to show you a couple altcoins that might do something similar to what Ethereum has done. So I want to show you basically, right? We have this boom, 1, 2, 1, 2, and it looks like a 3. Or you could say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a diagonal with a 3-wave pullback. Or you could say rise, crash. This is our retracement. We're coming down into reaccumulation before we blast off. But what I really wanted to show is basically comparing this to, for example, let's look at ADA. So when you look at ADA, you can kind of see what Ethereum did, which is come back up here, and then it had its 3-wave pullback, right? Or when you look at VeChain, had this 1, 2, 1, 2, maybe we get this 3-wave pullback, right? So Ethereum's here. Ethereum takes off, which impulses this rally here. So here's both charts side by side, right? You can see Ethereum 1, 2, 3, 4, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see that. And then what did Ethereum do? It took off. And what is ADA going to do? Hopefully, it's going to take off, give us a 3-wave pullback. As ADA's taken off, and not just ADA, but all of them, the whole market, right? As ADA takes off, as the whole market takes off, right? This is where Ethereum will probably start to take off from its 3-wave pullback, right? Then it pauses out. Then that's when we get ADA's 3-wave pullback. So it's a little bit behind the rest of the market, but you can kind of see, right, the same kind of this move here with the peak, move with the peak, and then you take out the high, you take out the high, crashing structure, you got a 1, 2, 1, 2, but you know this 2 broke this wave, so it cannot be a 1, 2, 1, 2. Right? So the best we can say is that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1. This is 2. Right? So yeah, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, boom. Boom. So we'll see if that plays out. Just wanted to share that really quick. So you can see. Also, I have these two charts side by side. This is XRP back in the day. I think it was 2021. Yeah, 2020 or 2020. I can't remember. March, April. No, it's in 2021. Okay, so yeah, I'm just kind of comparing the two, and this is what's going on today, right now. So, you know, back over here we had this impulse, and then we had a massive dump to the downside, right? We came up very fast in a V-shaped recovery, and then we started to flag out. We broke the high, and then we came back and had a flush out, right? So it's kind of like an expanded flat. So we had an A, B, C, and then we had a 1, 2, and then we had another 1, 2, and then it just blasted off. Okay? So, you know, same kind of thing that's going on here, right? You came back up. You have this, obviously, this crash. You have this similar move here. You come up, right? You flag out. So maybe we kind of break the top a little bit, come down, flush the low, ABC, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then maybe we could just take off. I don't know. I'm not saying that's going to happen, right? This is not financial advice, but what I'm doing is I'm looking at this structure here, you know, and I'm trying to compare, basically look back in time to see if I could see anything that resembles something like this. And this is pretty close to what I've been trying to look for. And so anyways, it's pretty decent, right? We had this, again, this quick move up, quick move down, very fast recovery, flag out, quick move up, quick move down, very quick recovery, and then we're flagging out. So anytime you have a big quick recovery and then you start to flag out, you're thinking it's probably going to ultimately move to the upside. So we probably got some work to do in here, right? So, we'll keep an eye on it, but the overall bias is to the upside. Another thing that it could be is, obviously A, B, C. So if this is A, we still need to come up for B, and then we come down for C. Back test this low and then go up. So we might still have some downside first. So we'll see. So when I look at the current price right now, that was a screenshot from yesterday, but when I look at the current price, this still looks very corrective. It doesn't look so good, right? It kind of looks like it needs to reset a little bit, right? So you have this dump. Sometimes it kind of rounds out a little bit, right? And that's kind of what we talked about yesterday, is coming down, rounding out, going sideways, and then hopefully coming back up. And then you have that B wave. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, you come up here for B, and then you go down into reaccumulation, or we go down for that C leg before going back up. So that's kind of my main idea right now, and that's kind of how I'm playing it. So yeah, we'll see how all of this plays out. Let's go to Theta here. Same thing kind of with Theta, just a little bit on a bigger scale, right? So if you look at this move down, right, I like to compare that to kind of like C19 a little bit. And then you can see we have this 3-wave up, and then we kind of flatten out a little bit, right? So when we look at Theta, for example, I'm gonna have to go to the other chart to get the most history here. Okay, here we go. So right here, actually, let me go to the 8-hour chart, and let's go back in time. Okay, perfect, right here. So look at this. This is kind of what I'm comparing it to, right? You had this big dump to the downside, right? You have this 3-wave up, kind of pull back, hit the high, come back a little bit, go flat, kind of this roundabout. Some of them kind of go round further down, then go up, like XRP did, but like Total 3 and a few others, actually a lot of them did something like this. Even Bitcoin, where it kind of just came up, it gave you the impression that it was corrective and it felt like it was going to roll over, but what it was really doing is kind of resetting itself. So it moved up and then it kind of went flat here before it broke out. So here they are, side by side, right? You can kind of see the similarities, right? So yeah, that's kind of what I want to look. That's kind of what I want to look for, right? You can kind of see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and barely get the 5th. And then what does it do? It comes down, which it's doing right now. Actually, let me zoom in if I can a little bit. There we go. It kind of came down and it went sideways a little bit, and then bam. So we're coming down. Right? We're coming down now. Let me zoom in a little bit more. So what we want to see is for it to kind of go sideways a little bit, maybe even hit the low, but ultimately start moving higher. So yeah, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So yeah, I mean, another way it could play out is that if it starts to round very deep. So something like this, like kind of like an XRP style um, move to the downside. But ultimately, we want this to be in the right direction, right? Obviously. So, when we look at COVID, the COVID dump, it started off kind of correctively. It kind of, had a lot of overlapping structures. It didn't look super good, but it had 5 waves. It had a little bit of a diagonal, but it didn't have a 3-wave pullback. It kind of just went down and then went sideways. So down, sideways, right? So anyways, these are just some ideas. That doesn't mean, take it with a grain of salt, right? It's not gonna, doesn't mean for sure, but I'm just kind of showing you, what the structure looks like and what we can potentially expect from a structure that looks like this, okay? And not just Theta, but a lot of them are, all of them are really doing the same kind of structure. So, and then when you also add this to it, now this is where it gets even more, right, because we're trying to find more confluence, is when we look at Bitcoin, right, it also is doing a similar move like that, right? I would have liked to seen it. I really wanted to see, I think since Bitcoin went so high on that third wave, I would have really liked to seen a 3, a 4, and then a 5. So 1, 2, 3, we came back down in 3, we came up in 3, but I was really hoping we can come up in 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then kind of come down, kind of go sideways a little bit, and then start to go up. So that didn't happen. But what did we talk about yesterday? Well, we talked yesterday, and I'm going to show you what I was saying in a minute. But let me just say, actually, you know what? I'll go back to that, and let me show you what I was, remember I was talking about the confluence, right? Where's the confluence at? So when we look at this here, and let me just screenshot it, and then I'll compare. So when Bitcoin was crashing right here, I was comparing these two structures, like as it was dumping, like the first day it was dumping, like when we were right in here and we start going down, 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 like that's when I was starting to share that. Since then, I've seen a lot of people start to compare this type of structure, which is, it's fine. I mean, it's people are seeing the same thing as me. And vice versa, right? I see the same thing as well. So that's confluence in what we see. But anyways, back to the, when we're looking at, Theta and, or really any market right in here, right? What did we say? We come back up, kind of go sideways, and then hit the high. So essentially, this fractal here is giving us a lot of confluence, right? So obviously we came back up, in this wave here. We started to, shimmy our way down in 5. So 1, 2, 3. Actually, no. Yeah, 3. And this was also 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, right? And then we kind of hit the high here. We pulled back, and then we shot to the upside, right? And that's the same kind of thing here. The real difference here is kind of when we move back up, this was actually a lot higher. And then we flushed the low, we went sideways, we came back up. Flushed the low, went sideways, came back up, and then bam, bam, right? So now we're right in this area. We're right in this area. So now it's like do or die, right? This is it. This is the moment, right? This is the big moment. What's going to happen here? So here's actually another chart. It's not my chart, but you know, it kind of illustrates all the little areas here, right? I mean, you came, let me switch that to blue. There we go. So we came down, right? You can see back up, this point here. I mean, you get the idea, right? I mean, you can see it. You can see all of these areas in here, and essentially, right, we're basically right here, and we need to work our way out of this. So I would say probably a few weeks to see what happens in this area, right? So if we go sideways and we start to break down, no good. If we start to pull back now, that's okay, but we want to flag out in 3. If we start to move up rapidly, then I'm going to be a little bit concerned because not enough time has consolidated. So we're just going to have to really play this out here and see what happens. So let's look at Bitcoin on the small time frames. And, you know, kind of compare, you know, what happened back in the day and you know, C19. So, you know, we really have the opportunity here to start really moving our way up, okay? And then that's gonna be the big thing. So as far as ideas go, as far as counts, I should say, right, we got 1 2 3, we got 1 2 3, or I should say 1 2 3, and then we got 1 2 3. So 1 2 3 1 2 3, right? And then hopefully something like that. So that's kind of my main idea, right? We had 3 up, looks like we're getting 3 down. Let's continue to fly. I think that's about it. I mean, there's really not too much to say. You know, keep an eye out for a member video. It should be coming very, very soon. So today is Wednesday. I'm probably by, I would say, no later than Sunday, Monday, worst case scenario, because I'm trying to figure out a few things, you know, personal related. So I was at the doctor's with my son. He's kind of seeing a speech therapist. He's a little bit delayed in his speech, so my time's been very consumed with that. I mean, he understands all the words perfectly, and he's got good hearing, but he just doesn't want to form sentences yet. So he's 2.5. I mean, he's still you know, a toddler. He's still like a baby, but you know, by the time you're 2, you want to start saying, you know, you want to start talking, right? And he does talk. He says car and blue and water, and you know, but he's a little bit behind, so we're just trying to work with him on things like that. So it's kind of been, you know, consuming a lot of my time talking with different people and trying to get him on track. Yeah, it's been a little bit busy. So anyways, moving forward here, yeah, there's not really too much to say, and I don't want to repeat myself. So what I would say is, let's see what happens in this range, right? It's going to take a little bit of time. But once we start to see some structure in here, because all I have right now is a 3 and a 3, okay? So, you know, as it's, let me zoom in a little bit more. So, as we're starting to form this wave, and we're on Wednesday, right? So Thursday should be interesting. I would kind of expect it to go sideways a little bit, then maybe come back up and retrace. So you can see actually this area right here, that support line. So I would imagine it coming back up here. right? I want to see it come back up here. And if it gets rejected and starts to come down, that's okay, but I don't want to break this low if that fractal is going to hold true. Now, if it does break the low, then that's okay. It just kind of deviated away from it a little bit. But essentially, I kind of wanted to see it go sideways a little bit, start to break the high, and then really start to accelerate, right? So I'm looking for something like that. Now, obviously, it usually doesn't go the way, right? Price goes in the way you expect it, just not in the way you expected it to go, right? So if you expect it to go down, okay, it's not just a straight line, it's going to work itself down. So it's always a little bit challenging to see how it goes down. So basically, let me just leave you with this. And this is not just Theta, this is the whole market. And actually, let me just go to total 3. If I could find it real quick. Or actually, let's do others. I haven't done others. So others is basically everything outside of the top 10. And you can see it looks basically the same. So a few ideas here, right? We have idea number 1, which is kind of coming down, going sideways a little bit, and breaking out. Pretty much simple, right? The other idea is you got a W, you come up in an X, we're going to go up, we're going to go down maybe a little bit more, and then up for a Y, right? So we have 3, 3, 3, or this could be 5. But essentially it'd be a W, X, Y. So essentially it's a 3-wave correction. So boom, boom, and boom. So that 3-wave correction hopefully doesn't break the low. You could see this 3-wave move came up basically 100%, right? So this is a flat. So usually if it gets up there, you know, it could be an expanded flat, but the where it's placed at the bottom of this move here, usually it's more so a running flat or a regular flat. So essentially we would come back down, go sideways down here, right, and then come back up. Or worst case, get down here and go back up, right? So we want to see it kind of range bound in here a little bit. Another example, let's see if I could pull it up real quick, is when Bitcoin kind of was, let me see real quick, right in here. I'm going to go there in a second, but just wanted to point it out one more time. So it came up and it had this big drop, and then it came down and it flushed the low, then it popped the high, pulled back, and then it went higher. So if I were to compare that, you know, to an altcoin, you know, something like Theta, right? You kind of go like this, you pop the hot, or you come down, pop the low, come back up, have a wave 1, wave 2, and then continue higher. Or even with Bitcoin is actually a better example. You could see this drop right here. And I'm actually comparing it to this drop here. Okay, so something like that. You come down, hit the low, and then you start, you know, going sideways in here. So this is going to be the area that we're looking for. All right, so when we look up here, you know, specifically right here, you see how, you know, you have your correction, and then you start to have this flat. It comes up, it hits the high, and then bam, that's your kind of like your C19 crash here, right? So let me just show you. This is your area there, right? And then here's your top right there, and then here's your crash here, right? So when you compare that to now to Bitcoin over here, there's your flat there, there's your top, and then here's your bottom, right? And then you come back up. So when we zoom back in, you can kind of see it, right? It's going flat right there. So, and what happened? That's what I'm trying to say, is what happened after that? Well, right before it blasted off, it went up, it had this big dump, right? And then it went up in 3. So it made you think that's an impulse with the 3-way pullback. Now we're going down, right? So we went up in 3, we came down, right? This is our area, right? Where we're at now. We hit to the downside, we kind of went sideways, and then bam, we hit the low, and then we kind of flagged out a little bit and then ripped to the upside. So let me just take everything off the screen, and let me just kind of compare that here. So boom, here's your move down where we are now. We hit the low, right? So when we look back over here, that's kind of where this is. Where here's your dump, here's your sideways, and then you hit the low, right? You hit the low, and then what does it do? It kind of goes sideways, has a 1-2, and then it explodes. Okay, same thing over here. We didn't go sideways over here, but we came up, we had a 1-2, and then we took off. So when we compare that to what's going on right now, right, you can kind of see it a little bit. So you know, you had this dump, it looks like a 3-way pullback, right? And yeah, essentially we want to go sideways a little bit, maybe hit the low, have a 1-2, and then continue higher. That's what I want to see. So that's the main idea. That's what I'm thinking. We'll see how that plays out. You know, kind of a little bit of a boring day, but we'll touch back on this later on. So as far as anything else goes, I think that's about it. Now for silver, I just wanted to say something. It kind of looks like silver is resetting itself. 1, 2, looks like 3, a 4, and a 5. So it looks like an ABC is forming here. I want to see it base out a little bit and then continue to pump to the upside. So 1, 2, 1, 2, let's go.